Another big talker this week, add the words legislation. Since 2006, a group of Idahoans have led the charge to add 4 words to Idaho's Human Rights Act: sexual orientation and gender identity. As in Idaho Code 67-5901, to secure for all individuals within the state freedom from discrimination because of race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin or disability in connection with employment, public accommodations, and real property transactions. Now this year number 16, Idahoans are still fighting to add those words. There has been some progress made in the last decade and a half. Some critics in counties like Ada County and Boise and Nampa have outlawed that kind of discrimination, but it still remains legal in the state of Idaho for a business to refuse to serve or a landlord refuse to rent to someone who is LGBTQ. The last time a committee took up add the words, testimony lasted for days, but the bill itself failed to pass along party lines. But every year, someone has tried to get the idea taken up again. Unfortunately, this year, that legislation likely will never see the light of day. Representative John McCrotzy did introduce a personal bill on Monday, MLK Day and Human Rights Day, on the House floor. But personal bills typically don't get a public hearing for the most part. And Representative McCrotzy told us, though, that he knows the bill likely won't get a hearing, but his goal is to keep it going and to keep it on everyone's mind. Well, we wanted to know, after 16 years and 7 years since the last public hearing on the idea, what's it going to take for Idaho to add the words?
You know, it's going to take a number of things. Some of it is going to take more conversations. This is the bill that we had the hearing on 7 years ago during my first session in the legislature. Maybe this isn't the right bill, but we need to at least talk about what is it about this bill that gives people angst. If it's the overall concept, then obviously that becomes a non-starter. But
I guess I'm trying to wrap my head around this idea that it's not the right bill. It's literally adding 4 words to an already existing law. What more could be? I mean, it seems so simple.
It should be really simple. You know, if we don't have the conversation, then no, it's not going to do anything.
If you think they were to come up with a bill this session that would add the 2 words vaccination status to the Idaho Human Rights Bill, what are the chances that would pass?
That's an interesting question, and I think that was actually posed in the last session. Yeah, that's a great question.
Maybe it will be answered later on this legislative session.
That's entirely a possibility, and if we can have that conversation, then I hope we can have this conversation as well.
So after that story aired this week, we got a lot of comments on all sides, and we didn't have time to get to them all. So we're going to share what you had to say on this topic. And we'll start with Arnie in Eagle. Arnie says, 4 little words, why so much fear in Idaho, like scared little kids, so afraid. I thought this was Idaho, where we valued people, all people. Kurt in Nampa disagrees, saying, quote, I will choose who I rent to, don't add the words. David says, my son is transgender. He was born and bred in Idaho. Bright, considerate, giving. Getting his college education, plans to be an animal behaviorist. Not sure why our legislators wouldn't want to fully protect his rights. Disappointing. And finally, Jim in Boise sums it up, saying, quote, add the words, they'll legalize marijuana in Idaho before they add those 4 words, and that ain't happening here. That's Jim in Boise. Still no word on if this year's bill will be assigned to a committee or get a hearing, but as always, we will keep you updated on the action at the State House.